Okay, so it's Kelsey Davis here with Morgan Vance, a first grade teacher at Lemons Mill Elementary, and the purpose of this video is to explain to a mainstream classroom teacher what Access is and the WIDA system and how a mainstream teacher can use WIDA to inform her instruction. So Morgan, we're going to start by taking a look at your students' Access scores. I'm sure that you've heard that Access is a test given once a year, and it helps teachers kind of assess where their students are with the 4 language domains, which are reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So I have your student scores here, and his composite score was a 1.2, and it just goes through and lists all his different scores. Typically, mainstream teachers are handed this at the beginning of the school year, but then not really given much further instruction on how to use these scores to plan lessons and design assessments, and so that's what we're going to do today. So throughout this process, it's just important to keep in mind that your student, on average, scores about a 1.2 on the Access test. One of the first documents that we're going to look at are actually the English language proficiency levels, and so that'll kind of tell you what the 1.2 means. WIDA has 6 different levels that a student can be at. Level 1 is entering, 2 would be beginning, 3 developing, 4 expanding, 5 bridging, and 6 reaching. And so your student scored a 1.2, which would be in between the entering and beginning level. When we use this framework later to kind of look at some instructional decisions, we just will want to keep in mind again that he's between entering and beginning. So, let's see. Another thing to keep in mind is that the English language proficiency standards have 5 basic language goals for students. They'll use language to communicate for authentic purposes in social situations, in language arts, in math, in science, and social studies. We're mostly today going to focus on the language of language arts because the lesson plan that you provided was a reading lesson plan. So why don't we, Ms. Vance, have you kind of walk us through what your lesson plan was, and then I can suggest some modifications you can use and demonstrate how you can use the Can Do Descriptors to change your instruction.
Okay. We had been discussing author's purpose. So we talked about the 3 reasons why an author would write a story or a text. And the previous day we talked about the 3 reasons and kind of gave descriptions about them. And then the next day we went through the stories from our reading series that we had previously read aloud as a group. And we went through each one and talked about the author's purpose for them. We went back over author's purpose the next day, and then they were divided into groups. Each group had a P for PIE, P for persuade, I for inform, E for entertain on a little note card. And as we went through the stories, they had to, with their partner, use the Kagan Strategies Showdown, and they had to discuss whether they thought the story was written to persuade, inform, or entertain. And then when I said showdown, they would show our answer, or their answer, and then I could easily assess the students that gained understanding. And then we talked about reasons why they chose their answer, or why not they chose their answer. And then we read another story, and they had to decide if the story was written on their own on a piece of paper, whether it was written to persuade, inform, or entertain. And then I collected those.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of show you in the WIDA system, there are different supports that teachers can provide in the mainstream classroom to help their culturally and linguistically diverse students achieve success. And so some of these supports are sensory, graphic, and interactive. And I first wanted to just compliment you because in your original lesson, you had a lot of these supports embedded within the lesson to already ensure your students' success. When we go through the modifications here in just a second, I used these supports and kept them in mind along with your student's current level and his access scores to kind of inform how I would make my modifications. So with that being said, we can go ahead and kind of look through. You have your original lesson plan here, and what I did is just in red indicated some places where you could make small changes to help your student achieve success. So the first modification that I recommended is that in addition to your content objectives, that you also provide language targets or language objectives. This is just one way where you can help your student see that content and language really are integrated and help him and the other students in your class build some of those language skills in listening, speaking, reading, and writing to achieve success. So, for example, when you said I can identify the 3 reasons why an author writes, all I did is I added some examples like I can tell my partner 3 reasons why an author writes, or I can match each of the 3 reasons with a picture clue. That would be a speaking example and then kind of like a writing or reading example of a language target. The next modification is just a way to incorporate technology. TESOL recommends that teachers embed technology, both teacher and student use of technology, into every lesson for all students, but especially English language learners. And so you already had a lot of technology in your lesson plan, but I found this video. It's just a little song to the tune of Itsy Bitsy Spider, and it reviews the 3 main reasons authors write. Since you already had covered that the day before, I thought this would be a really good way to help, just to review and get some of their prior knowledge activated there. Then for the third modification that I recommended, this is where we're going to get into using the Can Do Descriptors a little bit. And so, let's see. In your original lesson plan, you already kind of mentioned that students would have cards for the Think, Pair, Share activity, and on each card, it would be labeled Persuade, Inform, and Entertain. Taking into consideration your students' current level of performance on the Access test, what I did is just open this Can Do Descriptor framework, and I went to grades 1 and 2 since you teach first grade. We're looking at the language of language arts since this is a reading lesson. And so I thought about the task and what language domain that would fall under: listening, speaking, reading, or writing. And this is mostly a reading task. And so I looked at just some of the examples that they have here listed, and students at a level 1 are able to pair illustrations with words, and level 2, which is beginning and where we want to kind of push your student towards, they're able to connect some of those illustrations with the actual ideas. So my recommendation for modification number 3 is that in addition to having the words printed on each card, you also just have like a picture clue. For example, like for entertain, you could put like somebody laughing or just some kind of thing to clue your students in, especially your English language learner, and help them kind of solidify the meaning of some of those abstract terms. Let's see. The next modification is research shows that students that develop literacy skills in their first language, and your student's first language is AOA, as you know, when they develop those literacy skills in language 1, that they're actually able to transfer a lot of those skills to their second language. So anytime within a lesson that you can use a student's native language in conjunction with English, it's really beneficial and supported through research. So I just suggested using Google Translate or another online free translation service, or actually even the students' parents themselves, since they are active and involved, to kind of take those words persuade, inform, entertain, and also have those printed in the student's first language on the cards. The fifth modification is another technology modification. I know our school has access to Think Central, which is where all the stories from our reading series, they have like interactive games and stuff, but you can also listen to them read aloud. So this is just another way to incorporate technology, maybe in like a listening center or something, especially if he gets overwhelmed at times with all the noise and the language in the classroom. Just giving him headphones and letting him listen to the story rather than doing it whole group might be a good way to review. Modification 6, again, we're going back to the Can Do Descriptors and kind of using them to inform what we're going to do, but it's important to see how the content of the Common Core can fit hand in hand with language instruction. And so going back again to those language objectives with your content objectives, one way that you can really help support language development and the Common Core is to have your students explain why they think something. And so you'd already had some questioning strategies in there where you were going to ask the students, like, how did they know that the author's purpose was persuade, or how did they know it was to inform? But for students at a level 1, which is where your student is, sometimes producing those thoughts independently might be difficult. So for the 6th modification, I'm actually going to use this book, but same idea here. Again, we're looking at the language of language arts and how your student will communicate ideas. And so we're asking him to provide support for his idea. And because it might be hard for him to independently produce that, I thought it might be helpful as a class to brainstorm and like post on an anchor chart some possible reasons that students could give for textual support. Like, I know because it makes me laugh, or I know because the author listed facts. So just having either that sentence frame, like I know because, or actually having the options where students can like select from a chart might be helpful, especially for students at a level 1 or level 2 like he does. So this would be developing his speaking skills and also some of those processing skills. But it's recommended, like in the Can Do Descriptors, that students repeat phrases or chants with illustrations to kind of help support. And that would be bumping him from that level 1 to level 2. So that's another way that you can kind of see this as a continuum and push his development on. Modification 7, I kind of already hinted at, but on the student's PSP and his IEP, it is noted that like sometimes social skills can be an issue, and so if he's having difficulty working in the group, it might be okay to allow him to work independently, just because sometimes all this input can be a little overwhelming for him. Modification number 8, because you mentioned in your lesson plan that there weren't many stories in the series that like exemplify persuasive text, it might be helpful to just make that concept more concrete by reading a persuasive text to the students, which I'm sure you've done already, but just to review for this lesson, I found this one called Hey Little Ant. It's a recording on YouTube, so another way you can get technology in there, but you could have them listen to that story. Modification number 9, you actually do like a whole group activity where you read David Goes to School aloud to the class, and either in addition to reading David Goes to School or instead of, you could use the text in the student's native language or like a bilingual text that has the English and the AOA. So in modification 9, I recommended a specific book title that uses his home language. Modification 10, 11, and 12, they all kind of are similar, and they have to do with using the home language again and extending it outside of school, but allowing him opportunities to practice at home. And so for modification number 10, again, it incorporates technology, and this is where he could practice those speaking skills by recording himself saying, like, with a book, I know the author's purpose was to inform because, and then he could list his reasons, and just recording that when he knows that he has an authentic audience. That's kind of motivating for students. You could use, there's an online recording technology called Vocaroo that you could use, or I know our computers at school also have that capability. And then you could either share this like on your classroom website, on a blog, or you could even create QR codes and have the librarian like post them inside books in the library. So that might be really motivating to him and to all the students. Then for number 11, my 11th modification, because his parents are bilingual and they're actively involved in his education, it might be a good idea, to send some of the links that we've already kind of talked about, like the video to the persuasive text or the PIE review song, to his parents, just so they can kind of see what you're doing in the classroom and how they can help support at home. And then finally, number 12 is where you actually send those Think, Pair, Share cards home with the student, so that when he's read to, either in his native language or in English, that his family can help him practice identifying the author's purpose. So those are my 12 modifications, but again, you already have done a lot within your lesson to provide support for him and all of your students, so I definitely want to commend you on that.
Thank you.
We already talked about the importance of technology and how you can use the Can Do Descriptors, so I just to make sure you have like a solid understanding of how this could apply to you, keeping in mind that your student is at a level 1, but we want to kind of bump them to that beginning stage, which would be a level 2. Let's go through another example, like instead of a reading lesson, let's do math. So what's something that you're currently working on in math?
A basic addition.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, we're already on the grades 1 and 2 section, but we want to change from the language of language arts, to the language of mathematics. And so I'm in the WIDA book here, and I'm just turning to that page of the language of mathematics for grades 1 and 2. And then while this is designed for assessment purposes, teachers can use this part of the text to kind of help inform their instruction. And so thinking about what you're going to ask your students to do when you're working on basic addition or basic operations, you just want to kind of see if you think any of this applies. So what is something that your kids will have to do, like in first grade?
Orally give examples of addition problems.
Okay, so that would be under the domain of speaking, since you said orally. And so we just want to kind of glance on this page and see, like, here's speaking for basic operations.
Okay.
And at a level 1, students are able to recite math-related words or phrases related to basic operations from pictures. And then to move to that second level, they have to restate or paraphrase basic operations from oral statements referring to pictures of everyday objects. And so it has like the word "and" emphasized here for addition, for example. So can you think of a way that you could modify a lesson maybe that you already have planned for your classroom to kind of reinforce some of the students' speaking skills and bump him from that level 1 up to that level 2 using the Can Do descriptors?
Well, for a level 1 kind of into a level 2, we could look at what words mean addition and what words mean subtraction. And he could take post-it notes and kind of have an addition symbol and a subtraction symbol and look at the words and match the addition and subtraction to words that are related to addition with the addition symbol, and then words that are related to the subtraction with the subtraction symbol. In a level 2, he could work on showing me using manipulatives, objects of one group and another group equals a total. And so using pictures and manipulatives, he could talk about using those keywords that mean addition.
Yeah, that would be great. So that kind of hits the speaking domain and the reading when he's matching the words and the pictures together using the manipulatives and then verbally explaining. So Miss Vance, I just want to thank you again for starring in my video today.
Welcome.
And I hope you leave with a better understanding of how mainstream teachers can modify instruction to
Absolutely.
reach their CLD students.
Thank you.